Namato Ratanatayasa. May I pay homage to Triple Gem, the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. My respect goes to my parents and my teachers. So today is Tuesday, 12th May 2020. This is Ajahn Sujan from Varapunya Meditation Center, Aberdeen, Scotland. So as usual, I'm here with you all in this evening to be part of your time in this evening. Hi everyone. Hello Margaret, Sarala, Prani, John. Hello. Thank you Margaret for your message, and glad that you got the masks. And hello Danmaya To Sabai Di Na. Yeah, so meanwhile other few members also send me a text saying that they have received the mask, and there are a couple of members as well who were listening, requesting for the masks. So I think in a few days or a week time we will be coming back to so-called relatively normal days we will be entering or welcoming. And we can see that yesterday and today there have been a lot of talk going on about the government's guidelines and restrictions that's going on around. And when I was listening to news this morning, breakfast news, I had a reflection that all the rules and the regulations that the government is introducing, it seems like the government's wish to introduce those news, but in fact those news simply are to keep every one of us safe. So we need to be more sensible than what the government is introducing those guidelines. It's for our safety, not for the government's safety. And I do understand the frustrations and anxiety that we come across because of this lockdown. But again, these frustrations and anxiety, staying at home is better than getting the virus and getting sick or possibly lose our own life. So it's not waiting for the government's all the guidelines to impose or should be restricted, but I think it is our sensible response. How can we keep ourselves safe and also promoting the safety of others? And for the safety of ours, again, it is based on our own intuition and well reflection and wisely working and going around. A government is simply facilitating or giving us this help or assisting us to keep us safe. So with this, I remember the story from the time of the Buddha that Buddha was simply saying that if we love ourselves, then learn to protect. And in this case, it is not just a worldly protection that Buddha was talking about, but also Buddha was talking in a sense that practicing at least of 5 precepts will help us or assist to protect us from falling into the darkness or the awful state after we in a way, so it says after we leave this human life, this life, and going to the next life. So that's why, again, once we have understood the consequences of it, then we love ourselves, So we need to keep ourselves safe by ourselves, not because somebody has told us, or not because somebody has given us those rules and regulations. So that's why I think in this time of uncertainty and difficult time, all what the government is trying to do by introducing those guidelines is simply to keep us safe. We should be very glad that there are these rules to keep us safe. Yeah. So this is what I felt, and I wanted to share with you. And in line with that, again, center is also giving masks to every members, those who would like to have it. And at the center still there are around probably 100 masks left. Those who would like to have it, you can send your address and how many members that you have at home, so we can send that masks for you. Hi David, hi Poonam, hi Harry, hi everyone. Yeah. So that's why I thought today I spoke on. I should inform once again that it is not for their safety, but it is for our safety that we should be more conscious of, and using this time very wisely. Okay? In the meantime, I got a few messages from different members, those who listened last night talk and a guided meditation. One particular one from Colin as well, that is expressing his gratitude and thanks, and also requesting me to continue even though the lockdown may ease in a couple of days or a week time. So I hope that I can continue in the future after lockdown ends. And also there's a message from Margaret as well. Margaret, and a message from someone called Neil, and message from a couple of few messages came through sending appreciation and how great these talks and guided meditation have assisted during lockdown time. So I'm very thankful for those feedbacks, and also glad to know that these talks and guided meditation are helping. In line with the last night talk, I mentioned about the two topics, two main topics that we have to develop in order to understand the Buddha's teachings and apply in our day-to-day life. So in that I mentioned about living a moral life and having a right understanding. These are the crucial principles that we have to apply in our day-to-day life. And this is again not just for the spiritual progress like in Buddhism. I think this is again, it's a very, very good principles or the practices that brings harmony and peace within ourselves and then in the community. So that is known as the sila. And now, when we look at the sila, again, there are so many types of the silas in Buddhism. There are 5 silas, 8 silas, 10 silas, and 227 silas, and there are 321 silas, or precepts that Buddha introduced. And among these different numbers, only one, that is the first one, which is the 5 precepts, known as the standard and basic precepts, and it is also as the foundation for every human beings to create harmony and peace in one society. And before going into the sealers, like 5 sealers, this is also known as the householders' precepts, or ethical practices that one has to develop. And there are other sealers like 8 precepts, and that's again little different than the 5, just another 1 or 2 added on from the 5 precepts. And this is simply to withdraw yourself from the worldly matters, or the family matters, and practicing a little bit more a spiritual journey. It's like you're withdrawing yourself from worldly matters and purifying, working towards the purification of your own mind by not engaging any sexual connections or behaviors, and not having any luxurious beds or adornments and jewelries, and also not eating afternoon. These are the simple steps just to raise above the normal behaviors that one has. And further on, the 10 precepts, again, this is like a novice preparation to be the complete renunciation, and withdraw or giving away all the worldly matters, and learning to be a simple and living simple life and a monastic life. So that's why it's called this 10 precepts as the novice monks' precepts. And this is again applied to the females as well. And there is another precept. It's known as 227 rules, and that is the monk's rule that monks has to follow and be conscious of it. Now, the 227 rules are the rules known as the Patimokkha, or the rules that monks has to follow in everyday life. And once you have decided to be a monk, then one has to at least know what are these precepts are. And then for the nuns, again, there are 311 rules, monastic rules to follow. And now sometimes when I was talking about the different rules, and then when I mentioned that monks have got only 227, and then why nuns have to follow so many more extra rules. And the reason behind it simply is because of the physical need and then the female safety. Buddha introduced extra rules to keep them safe. So that's why all the rules in a nun's precepts more than monks are simply because to keep them safe from any other dangers. So that's why there are 320 rules. So in Buddhism, that's why there are 4 types of disciples. One is known as the bhikkhus, or the monk. Second is known as the bhikkhunis, or the nuns. And then the third, the male disciples, and the fourth, and the female disciples. So these are the 4 disciples known as the Sangha in basic term. So these are the disciples of the Buddha. Okay? So that's why Sila, it has different levels and different ways of practicing in Buddhism. So that the Sila, and then Buddha also mentioned about, just looking at the time, and the Buddha also talked about that Silena Rakhaya Medhavi, which means a wise man is one who observes the Sila, or the precepts, and that's simply to keep them in a right position, or the safety. And there was a time when the Buddha was traveling to the Kesaputiya village, one of the very famous village at that time, where all the other religious people or the faith leaders used to visit and give them teachings in that village. And these villagers were confused because whoever passed through that village, and each and every faith leaders were saying that his or her faith is the one who the truth. The rest of others are not. You should be abandon other faiths but follow my faith. So that likewise, so the villagers were confused about which faith or which philosophy should be followed or should be following. And it happened that on that one of the occasions, Buddha along with the venerable monks traveled through that village, and having heard the name and fame of the Buddha, the village head, the chief of that villager, invited villagers to come to visit him and spoke with the Buddha. And having met with the Buddha, some stood, some sat down and asked the question by saying, "Venerable Sir, we have met so many faith leaders and we have heard their teachings, and every one of them always praise their philosophy but discard others' philosophy. What is your view and what is your philosophy?" So in that case, the Buddha again introduced, Buddha simply saying that, "Well done, you have those doubts, and well done that you have these questions." And having said, the Buddha laid down the 10 reasons, saying that I will repeat only few. And the Buddha told him that the Kalamas, the villagers of that Kalama or the Kesaputta, may believe that Scripture has said so, and you take it on. Do not believe that my master has said so. Do not believe that my tradition has said so. Do not believe that it's been passed through. And do not believe that this is because the logic says so. And like that, there are 10 principles not to believe in things. And after that, Buddha questioned back, "What do you think, Kalamas? Do you think that harming any beings is good or bad? Is it wholesome or unwholesome?" Then villagers replied that that's unwholesome. So, if you have seen that this is unwholesome, then you can practice it. And a second, he again went on through all the 5 precepts, saying that if you have properly investigated and you think that this is beneficial for you and beneficial for the community, then take it on. So Buddha is simply offering us a chance and challenging us to investigate whatever we have heard, whatever we have practicing. So inviting us to challenge, inviting us to investigate properly, and only then, once you have investigated in your own experience and having seen the benefit of your own, benefit of others, and benefit of both, and take it into practice. And that's how the importance of the 5 precepts comes in. So then after Buddha went through all the 5 precepts, all the Kalamas, they told the Buddha that all these 5 precepts are perfect and it is beneficial for one individual and also to others, and that also builds the harmony, cohesiveness, and peace in the community. So having said that, then Buddha told them, if you think so, then practice on. So that is the beauty of the Buddha and Buddha's teachings. And that's why the 5 precepts become the fundamental teachings of the Buddha throughout the time, throughout the history, and rest of other precepts like 8 precept, 10 precept, 220, 27 precepts, and 311 precepts are just added up just to keep the community safe and then conducive for the further development, mental development. But the base is the five precepts. One who is practicing in accordance with the five precepts, whether that person calls them as a Buddhist or not. Buddha didn't say that when you are practicing five precepts, you must become Buddhist or you should follow me. Buddha is simply saying that you can practice this and automatically you become a good person. Automatically you are the good citizen of that village or of that country. So that's how the sila introduced in Buddhism, and that's how the sila become the sealed for our safety or in our safety in this life, and as well as a sealed to shield us from falling into the awesome states or the darkness, or so known as the lower realms than the human beings. So the five precept is also known as the Manussa Dhamma, which means becoming to be a human. So one who is practicing in accordance with the five precepts, and then there is no violation of it at all, then definitely he will be reborning, either become a human or lower realm, lower heavenly realms. So this is as the fundamental teachings, like according to Buddhism, when we look at the law of karma and how we become humans, and these the fundamental one of the tools or one of the driving force is that we have been practicing these five precepts even in our previous lives. So these five precepts is very, very essential part of the Buddha's teachings. And when we able to practice these five precepts properly, and as this will be the foundation building, on the basis of that, our mind, we will be able to develop our mind, and that's how we will gain more concentration. And once we have achieved the concentration, and definitely able to extend into and developing our wisdom. If you have meditated and if you have practiced serious meditation, you will observe that very moment when you have done something wrong, that will come and affect your meditation for all day. You cannot concentrate, and you will be thinking of that incident again and again and again. So that's violation of one of the precepts become the obstacles for the development of concentration. And as a result of that, every time when you go to the retreats, you're always asked to observe the five precepts properly. And these five precepts, again, it's not a rule. Likewise, in Christianity, the Ten Commandments, or in other religion, the rules that is given from the God, or given or written in the scripture, which must. Whereas in Buddhism, these five precepts are simply a training process. So that's why it's called Sikkhapadang, Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami. Veramani, which simply means abstaining. Sikkhapadang means training. Samadhiyami then means I observe. So I observe abstaining from, observe the training of abstaining from killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, and taking any intoxications. So that's why it's up to us. Buddha has given us a chance to practice and develop in this spiritual life. So that's why the five precepts are, although it's very essential, but it's not a commandment like in Christianity, or it's like not a must. But if you do, then the benefit will occur. If you are not doing, then the benefit is not there. So, and there are stories related to the observation of the 5 precepts. That there is one particular a man who was studying abroad, boarding, studying in one of these schools for many years, and after his completion of his study, he wanted to give a gift to his teacher as a gift, but he didn't have anything, so he went back home and asked their parents to give some money to give to the teacher as a gift. So he collected some money and wanted to go and give it to the teacher, but there were bandits hiding around and realized that this man is going back with the plenty of money, so we will kill him and get the money for themselves. But the story goes on saying that on that day, Buddha realized that this man is in danger and this man is capable of understanding the teachings. So Buddha went and sat down in his way and meditating under the tree. As this boy was going back to the school, he saw the Buddha sitting calmly, and he went into the Buddha and having some friendly conversation, and the Buddha told him to observe 5 precepts. So going for the refuge to the Buddha, Dhamma and the Sangha, and then observe the 5 precepts. So because he had a friendly conversation with the Buddha and understood the importance of the 5 precepts, he observed the 5 precepts, and after observing, he left the Buddha. And sadly, on the way, when he was walking towards his school, he was so glad and he was so rejoicing that he had met the Buddha and had a friendly conversation and had observed the 5 precepts. So during that time, these bandits came and killed him for the money, and he died on the spot. And then later on, people were talking about it, and the Buddha said that although he died on the spot, but he had an opportunity to observe 5 precepts and then took the refuge on the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. With that good deed and a rejoicing moment that he was having during the time when he passed away, he was reborn in a lower heavenly worlds. So these are the stories that reinforce us to see the benefit of the practicing of the 5 precepts. And again, this is our choice, not as a commandment. So I offer this as tonight's reflection for you to reflect and take on the practice. And then further on, I will go on these precepts following days and bits and pieces with the other questions I got, adding on with that. Right, so with this, may you be happy, peaceful, and may the Triple Gem bless you. And hope if you can observe 5 precepts, you can do it as well. In a few minutes' time, we will have a chanting, evening chanting, and then we will have a guided meditation at 7:30. So you may continue listening or tuning in after a few minutes' time for the chanting, or you can come back for meditation at 7:30. Until then, see you soon. Until then, good night. And those who are not following for the chanting and meditation, good night, and see you tomorrow at 6:30. Thank you.